What is up, everybody? It is Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that is sponsored by Dubman Plus Care. And being part of that team, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. As always, I like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And this is Primetime Saturday with Aisha LaLa. We're broadcasting on June 28th. Like now, more than the half of the year is gone now. 6 months full almost is gone of the year. And time is just going by fast. Like weather in Toronto earlier on this week, it was ridiculously hot. It's cooled off decently, and we're just hanging out. So we're looking forward to things. And how are we going to do things today? Should we bring the ladies up and then go to break, or should we do break and then bring the ladies up? You know what? Let's bring them up. Here we go.
Hey.
What's going on?
I love that you're outside. You putting your toes in grass?
I'm actually on the deck, but I went out. Oh, I did go out into grass earlier. My sister's, where my sister lives, they, in her subdivision, they have a community garden, and everybody who owns a house there has a patch of land where they can grow things. So my sister was out this morning, tilling her land. I was out there helping her weed and all those things.
Tilling the land? Are you on a farm or something? Tilling the land? You sound like you're on a farm.
It's city dirt. You have to till it and get down in there to get down to the good soil. Because my sister was like, "How do you know how to do this?" I'm like, because I read stuff about irrigation things, things like that, and so the closer you are to water, which is deeper in land, the better the dirt is, the better the quality of the dirt is going to be.
Okay.
And also, too, that's why plants put their roots so deep in. So I was showing her that when you go that deep, the roots are easier to take up because the roots are going to be closer to where their water source is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I know that.
So, Lala, do you put your toes in the sand, in the dirt?
I do.
Yeah.
I actually went to the beach this week and I put all 10 toes in. I needed it. I think I've mentioned before that I'm working through the Artist's Way.
Yes.
And part of that is taking yourself out on creative dates to help your creativity. So one of the things that I do is go to the beach, just me, my headphones, and just lay out in the sun a little bit. Hopefully I'm showing some glow, and I put my feet all in the sand, and that just feels good.
Hey.
Yeah. You got to.
Yeah. So give me a win each one of you had this week.
I started my series. I started my series on my YouTube channel, and it's my journey going through the Artist's Way, but it's called Finding Your Soul's Voice.
What's it about?
It's about this creative journey, tapping into your life purpose.
Nice. Aisha K, give us a win.
Oh goodness. Wow.
Come on,
today's cool. I finally cooled off. That is a big win because I was really, really hot last week. But no, you know what I did this week? I started playing with a new AI model and came up with I was telling Jill and Lala these 5-minute videos of to tell event in history. And the first one I worked on is this Black woman named Henrietta Wood, who won reparations in the 1870s. First Black woman to do that. And they told her the same excuses they use now. Oh, it was too long ago. 1870. Okay, it was too long ago that you were re-kidnapped and put back into slavery. So I've been working on that and getting to know this AI platform, and it's a lot of fun. So that for me was a win because I got to tell the story I wanted to tell and to do it in a bite-sized thing so people can pay attention to things. And it's called Sweet Tea and History.
I love it. I love it.
Are you willing to share what platform you're using or what software you're using?
I've tried this one on different platforms. So I'm trying to figure out which one I like best. But I created the opening, the intro on Canva.
Okay. Yeah, Canva has AI incorporated. Yes.
Yeah. The problem with that
incorporated VO3.
Yes.
Right. The problem with it, though, even if you have a paid thing, is that they're right now, while they're doing the trial part, they're only letting you do X number of videos per month.
Yeah.
So I've moved to looking at other platforms. Like right now I'm looking at Lumen. There's another one that I gotta I had to apply to get a demo track, and I got the demo thing for a month. So
pick Lumen
5.
There's also yeah, we should chat offline, and I actually should share with both of you. I got a list of great free AI tools.
Would love that. I subscribed to Kling this week because I'm also learning to do the videos.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Well, first we'll send it to Aisha and LaLa through our private, then we'll share it with the family.
What I found though is that when you pay for a subscription, the platform usage, it's much more user friendly versus the free version, honestly.
Of course.
But the one that I'm going to work on before I release this video is I want to try tomorrow. It's called Aisha AI.
I love it.
It's a Black owned AI. It's called Aisha.
Oh, I love it.
My sister told me about it.
It's Black owned?
Mm-hmm.
Can you share that information with me? Because I'd love to see if I can have it on the show. Because
as soon as I get it, as soon as my sister's actually gonna she sent me the link of my text messages. So as soon as I get back to my text messages, but it's called Aisha AI.
That's great. And because there's also a gentleman up here in the Canada area, I'll show his name, Perry Douglas, who has he's very much in the digital space, has 6 AI technologies, and he has created his own LLM, learning language model. And I'm getting blessed. I'm going to be getting some time to demo it for a bit. So I'm looking forward to putting it in. He says he's really excited because yes, he wants companies to use it because he says we're going to get rid of consultants. Rid of consultants. And for me, he says I'd love it because I'm more of a creative, so I'll be his prime creative person to test out.
That's great.
Yeah, to put in ideas and things like that. Oh, that is great. That is great.
I'm looking forward to trying this Aisha AI and getting in touch with the creator because and see if they're willing to allow me to promote, to use and promote it because just by virtue of this having the same name.
Right. Aisha use Aisha.
hey, get a deal. Get a deal, girlfriend. Get a deal so you can cut some stuff. And I love it. There's a lot of people watching live today. Good to see y'all here. And we are broadcasting on Substack. Yes. And I finally found the way of and I have to thank Tanya Smith. Love you, Tanya Smith, who did a great instructional video on how to broadcast on Substack. So I have my Substack page open. I'm going to see if I can actually monitor this conversation on Substack. So if any people have any comments, I can reply to them on Substack. But
that's great.
Yeah, I'm really got to spend some more time digging into the Substack scene. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to go for a break. Go for a 30-second break, and when we come back, we'll do a little housework, and then we're going into another boring week in America. So
we don't know what we're going to talk about.
There's none to talk about. So we'll be back in 30 seconds. Black Canada Talking, where Black Canadians give their takes, POVs, and insights on local, provincial, national, international conversations. Cesar Nadima Musa. What is up, Cesar?
Hi, Dr. Vibe. Thanks for having me. And it jeopardizes your ability to sustain yourself financially.
40 programs have been suspended due to the drop in revenue.
We see this happening over and over again throughout history.
What does that tell you about America? There they are. Cesar, Nadima Musa, myself on Sundays on Black Canada Talking.
Please tell Cesar I love the Wu-Tang sweatshirt.
I will do that. I will do that. I will do that.
I have an ODB sweatshirt. A t-shirt. I love Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah, that is a classic. That is a classic. All right.
I saw Wu-Tang in concert.
No.
At a small club in 1993, 94 in New Haven, Connecticut. The place used to be called Toad's Place. And they're closed now, but yes, I saw Wu-Tang. All of them were there. And let me tell you, the stage was small. All of them were there. It was very dark, very smoky, very 90s, but I loved it so much. I was 19 and I just loved it so much.
19 at that concert?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Oh, that's great. LaLa, let me ask you before we got a little more fun, because we can always go on a tangent when we talk about music. What was the first concert you remember going to?
It was
and Aisha, same question for you.
The Beastie Boys.
The who?
It was the Beastie Boys.
Come on.
No, I was scheduled to go to see Prince's Controversy concert. And when it was in Louisville, Kentucky. So when they came out and said what Prince was going to do, my mother said, "Nah, you little girl, you ain't going. You're not going to that one." And so she didn't know anything about Beastie Boys. And so Fishbone was the opening act. I enjoyed Fishbone, enjoyed Beastie Boys, but what Mom didn't know what was going to come up out of that stage would have been easier for me to go and see Prince.
Okay, Aisha.
Well, we always have free concerts on the Green in our downtown. So I'm sure there are people that I've seen that I can't remember, but the one I remember was Any Heartbreak Tour. The fall in 1988, I saw Bobby Brown, New Edition. I'll be sure it's supposed to be there, but he didn't come to that concert. So it was just New Edition and Bobby Brown.
That's the what?
Yeah. The Any Heartbreak Tour.
Wow.
My parents are still married at the time. They took me, two of my friends, and my sisters.
Oh, before we go any further, we have a special guest watching the show today. I got to shout her out. Tiara KJ Williams is watching the show. Tiara, it is.
Tiara! Thank you for coming in. That makes me feel good.
So good to see you today. And I gotta check out Tiara, the driving force of many queens on Fly Nubian Queen. It's on 1 o'clock Monday to Friday on the Fly Nubian Queen Network. Tiara is the producer. I I know you just completed a video, Tiara. So hopefully, Tiara. Let me get my head, not my heart. Tiara. Hope you don't jump off the live stream because I pronounced it wrong. Now behave now. But no, but please check it out. LaLa is part of that conversation all the time. So make sure you check it out. All right.
I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here. That is so. Okay. All right. We got lots of comments here already. So let's do housework first. Girlfriends chat with Aisha LaLa and Jill Jones on Patreon. There is the link to catch on Patreon. That's the link to catch it on Substack. Also, Primetime Saturday Show Store. There is the link. Join Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa, the Discord group. Email me or hit the link or copy the link and put it up live. And also subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button if you're up to it. And also like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. And I've got to correct the spelling of Blue Sky, but it is Blue Sky. And also to advertise your business, product, or service on the show, please email me dr.vib at the drvibeshow.com. And finally, we cannot forget Indie Soup. Dr. Tachi's independent content creators platform, but 28,000 people who have
Wow, that's so wonderful.
16 months. This is seen on it, replays of this, edit versions, and also there's the website. And we got a pile of comments. So let's get all into these comments before we get to stories, because it's nice to have. It's not the norm. So people already jumped in. So Enlightened Being says, hello, family. Ken Myers, #1 fan. Hey, hello, everyone. He says, it's still hot here in Cleveland. And then Enlightened Being says, I put all 10 toes in today. Hello. And producer Matt says, nice and chilled here in my area. A beautiful 19 degrees Celsius, which is, that's not 32 degrees. That's not 32. No, well, he's saying for non-Canadians, that's like 32 degrees Fahrenheit. He's joking like that.
Oh, I was going to say, I was like, that's freezing.
He's playing jokes. That's about.
But I should know better, because 18 degrees is what I keep my AC in my car. 18 Celsius.
Yeah, so it's about 60, anywhere in the range of 65, 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Regina, good evening. I just washed off my dirty toes from weeding the garden hose. 77 degrees, but 85%. Ooh, humidity in New York. Ooh.
Well, it rained. It's been raining in the tri-state area. So yeah, Ooh, boy.
So Aisha asked, where in New York, Regina? She's asking. And then Matt says, I'm so jealous, Lala. And Lala said, thank you for joining in to all the people that tuned in doing on her Facebook channel. Aisha says, Chiara, that's my niece's name. Oh, whoa. Here's crazy. Man, we may never get through today's show. Concert show. Regina says, my first concert, the Rolling Stones in 1975.
Wow.
Who was opening?
It's the next one for me. That I'm so jealous, because I would have.
Yeah.
I would have loved to go.
The second big one was Parliament Funkadelic. Yes, the Mothership was part of the show. I think 1976.
Wow.
I would have liked to go in 1976, and I was 2 at that time. I would have loved it. And let me tell you, the Mothership, you know where it is now? Black History Museum, DC. Hopefully somebody gets it back. Yeah, I have a picture of the Mothership there from the museum. My sister took my daughter and my nephew, and that's the thing my daughter brought back for me, was a picture of the Mothership, as well as one of Prince's outfits from, I forget from what era. I think it was from Purple Parade, I think. But yeah.
Jeez, the
whole Mothership. It's on, like, I think she said the 3rd floor. It's so big. Yeah. But there are a lot of things like that at that museum, and that's what breaks my heart about what they're doing to it.
And I've never seen them in concert. Would love to. I'd still go.
Dude's still wearing his diaper.
Yeah.
Still funky.
I did see George Clinton. I did see George Clinton about 10 years ago. And
I did see him a long time ago. I do remember I did see him, but it wasn't the whole Mothership.
But no, the whole Parliament, George Clinton and Parliament was there in the park by my apartment at the time. I didn't even have to go. I just walked out to the parking lot where my car was, and sat with a lawn chair and listened with a glass of wine. Because I could hear everything. I mean, the park was like down the street.
You have said that before. I remember you mentioned.
Yeah, I said it when it happened. Like, I think it was like, so it must have been like 2017, I think. But yeah, they were right out. It was beautiful.
Oh.
I'm very jealous, Regina.
More comments. Regina goes, I live in New Paltz, Hudson Valley.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Across from Poughkeepsie. And Enlightened Beings goes, Parliament. Oh, yes. And producer Matt goes, okay, I'm bad at math. Should have been 66 degrees Fahrenheit when transitioned from 19 degrees Celsius. And Regina goes, there was so much weed being smoked. Weed being smoked. Sorry, I was thinking about your guy. So much weed being smoked. I had a major contact eye.
Look, and that circles back to the very first thing that we ended up talking about, so how we got here. The Wu-Tang concert was the Toast Place was small, but the Wu-Tang concert, you didn't have to smoke to get high in there because it was lit.
There was so much smoke. Yes, it's true. I want to go back.
I walked out of there. I wasn't sure I could drive.
I want to go back to Regina's comment. We didn't finish it. She goes, there was so much weed being smoked. I had a major contact high. There were a lot of people on stage. George Clinton is amazing. Yes. And then producer Matt says, my first concert was Imagine Dragons.
Oh, my nephew loves Imagine Dragons.
But my most favorite that I saw was a band called Blind Guardian. All right. We got some variety in the house. Well, you know what? It's time to talk about other things in the world.
Yeah.
You
I was so happy for a second. Okay. Okay, go.
Okay. Let's just have a moment of silence. Okay.
Go.
All right. And this just landed yesterday. U.S. Supreme Court curbs injunctions and gives 47 a win on birthright citizenship.
And he wasted no time.
Starting the White House.
Mm-hmm. And he wasted no time, right? Because the first thing what he did was that, oh, guess what? I'm taking TPS from Haitians. You can go back. You can go back from we don't have temporary protected status anymore. You can go back and Haiti is safe. But here's the thing for me. Yes, he curbed this. And for people who don't understand, what this basically means is that a judge can't say, okay, you know what? I find in this courtroom for these defendants that this executive order, for example, does not work. So I am putting an injunction on it, a pause on it, to you all bring this matter to court. What the Supreme Court says was that when the judges were doing that, they usually were saying, okay, but this goes for the whole country until everyone who needs to sue you can sue you. And the Supreme Court basically said that those judges cannot do that. On the one hand, on birthright citizenship, it's a terrible thing.
It's awful.
It's an awful thing.
Awful. It does not represent what we are supposed to be representing.
Right. But Democrats need to be very, very smart about this, because here it's not a bright light, but here is the flip side of this. Guess what that means? Remember that injunction in Texas from the guy who wants to stop mifepristone and for it to go for the whole country? The Supreme Court says that injunctions are curbed. He can't stop everybody in the country from having mifepristone. Remember all the plans that they were trying to do with birth control? They were hoping that the one judge would do that with birth control. Guess what? This does, because see, the thing is, right now Donald Trump is on his roller coaster of a win, so high, so happy. No one has told him, but you know what else this means, right? So no one has posed that. So let him have his win. Let him be high on that. This is horrible, but that's not the only thing. The second thing should be this. Aside from that part, he wants to expand birthright citizenship. So women who are not here, their children, women who are not citizens yet, even if their children are born here, those children will not have citizenship in a state if the family moves. So for example, if the child is born here in Connecticut and they're born, we say they're a citizen, whatever. But if they move to Texas, where Texas is going to say, oh, we don't do that here, that child will not be considered a citizen in Texas. So what do? Guess what? We've got two people. We've got the president himself, who is only president because of birthright citizenship. Let's be very clear, okay? His mother was not a citizen at the time of his birth, okay? So let's start by that. And people need to not remind him, but we need to keep reminding him and keep saying it. And two, Barron, this also applies to Barron. And if you really want to get under this man's skin, the thing I've learned is you have to embarrass him. When he's embarrassed, he walks things back. We're going to talk about this thing with Pete Hegseth later, but the truth of the matter, when it came out last weekend that wait a second, after he did his little thing, when it came out, wait a second, he didn't have this, he didn't do this, he didn't answer to Congress, he canceled this with Congress, and he got embarrassed by the coverage, particularly that leaked letter. When he got embarrassed by that leaked information, he went and he doubled back. So yeah,
I'm just going to for a second. If you are watching this live on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel, please put in your comments on what you think about the Supreme Court. Well, how do you feel about the Supreme Court decision on birthright citizenship? Well, we'll be able to show them in real time. Lala, go ahead.
The Supreme Court is compromised. We know that. We are completely devastated. This is nothing what is written into, and he even tried to go back and say this was based on slavery. But not only that, this was another jab at him to claim that Biden knew nothing, everything is everybody else's fault. It's never his. But Aisha, here's where you and I disagree, because I'm so very, very disappointed. It does not matter how many times we remind his stupid. He continues to get away with absolutely everything. And when that happens, that limits our power as well. Until we have a complete uprising of Americans who are tired of this and who are not MAGA, and for those Republicans who are not MAGA, we are. And I don't trust the Supreme Court. I don't trust anybody in his cabinet. I don't trust Congress. I don't trust nobody. And I still say Democrats are not doing enough. If this man is pure, simple evil. And it doesn't matter what we feel about Barron or his porn wife or any of those people, because we all know that this doesn't matter for them. It only matters for us. And I am at my wit's end on how are we supposed to unify to get the power that we need to get this idiot and his whole administration out of a White House that he didn't even win. So these type of things, I have to catch my breath. This came out Friday. It's going to take me probably a week to even sit down and think about things, but that's the plan.
And that is why I think for me, I start to look at how can this hurt them? And you know how else it hurts them? Because the thing is this. He actually gave us a gimme. People don't realize it. The gimme was what you said, Lala. It was what he said about, well, this 14th Amendment was intended for descendants of slaves. Okay, so you know what I did? I took that and I went to Blue Sky and I said, guess what, white people? Y'all ain't safe. Because he said the 14th Amendment was intended for the descendant of slaves. You guys aren't safe. And you know the meltdown people started having. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, yeah. Well, I said, if we're going to go after the literal thing, because here's the problem. It's not that people aren't fighting. We're fighting in our communities. Latino people are fighting in the street. It is white moderates, white centrists, and white liberals who aren't fighting because they're waiting for other people to do the hard work for them of fighting this man to the point of exhaustion, of being totally exhausted like we are. Because while I promise you, you and I are concerned about these things. We're tired about this stuff. We are exhausted about this. But the very people, those moderates who sit there, and many of them who are sitting in Congress right now, they're okay. Because you know what? They go home and they don't let this exhaust them, because even they still think that this is for those people, about those people. And like I was telling you guys behind the scenes, I'm writing this piece, and the bottom line is that until they stop trying to look at the queer movement and take from that, or co-opting the civil rights movement, none of it will ever work. What they need to do is start acting like the very people that they are. The same way that they can go off on a barista for inconveniencing them by not having oat milk at the ready. Give that same energy to this man, to his politicians, to your aunts and uncles and your family members. Treat them like they forgot your oat milk. Period. And that is why I think that it doesn't matter us getting exhausted in front. We know this is coming at us. We know this is coming at us. The frustrating part for us is that we know it's coming for them too, and we need them to get off their ass and do something. And my thing is this: let it hurt, because I realize that we've done enough damage. You know where the damage came? You guys remember back in 2020 when COVID first started? You know why he let 1 million people die? Because what did the first report say, LaLa, about who was dying from COVID? Right. The report said that it was
Not mute, LaLa.
I heard
It
was us. Said us.
They said us. They let, right. But guess what? Do you know, I added this for my piece that I wrote. Do you know, of that 1 million people, how many of them were white?
I don't know the number,
almost 800,000. The majority. You know how many black people died? 150,000. This is of 1.5 million. Okay? So when we're talking about these things, those are the kinds of things that have to be said to these people to understand. Because remember, the media, they reported, oh, black people are more likely and Latinos are more likely to die from COVID than any other group, and left it at that. But they didn't start telling the other stories. And it's kind of like 9/11. Remember 9/11? If you look at the reports of 9/11 and who died, you would think that only white people died.
Yeah.
When they were like, what was it, 300 black kids on their way to a science conference in California? Yeah. So come on.
All right, just to catch up, there's a whole pile of comments. Yeah. So there's a whole pile of comments as per usual, and let's get them going. And I'm just in happiness here because I'm also got another screen. We're broadcasting live on Substack. This is a beautiful thing. And there's got some people, you got 2 people watching on Substack. So whoever's watching on Substack, hey, I'm watching the screen on Substack. If you have comments, I'll certainly share them with the family here. But let's get to some comments. Regina says 2 class action lawsuits already been filed after the decision came down. Enlightened Being says Democrats are powerless. MAGA has shackled them. This is so beyond horrible. Real Django, haven't seen you for a while. Thumbs up. Also, the Walamala says, I haven't been keeping up with the Supreme Court. You should. Aisha says the worst part was the disrespect towards KB.
Yeah. Brown Jackson.
Yeah. Did you see her response?
I saw her response, but did you see how Amy Coney Barrett gave a response after that and basically was just totally disrespectful? And Ketanji Brown Jackson, oh my God. When I say that woman kept her cool, because I would have said, doesn't this apply to your daughter?
Exactly.
Your black daughter?
They don't like it when you call them out. But you know, I really appreciate what she said as well is and I'm pulling it up so I can say exactly what her comment was. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said it's not difficult to predict. It is not difficult to predict how this will all end. Eventually, executive power will become completely uncontainable, and our beloved Constitution, or republic, will be no more. She's right on it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
100%. Regina says birthright citizenship will not be overturned. It's too insane, and SCOTUS will rule the day they started this mess because it makes 0 sense. Even as GOP AGs know this will backfire on them too. The Walamala says maybe everyone should stop expecting the Supreme Court to be reasonable. Enlightened Being says the Supreme Court is probably complicit. Probably, I don't trust anyone. They tried to impeach 47 on the sheer fact of what he did on Iran, and the Dems, like 120 of them, voted against impeachment. What WTH? And then Regina says, I predict SCOTUS will have limited terms with the next Democratic POTUS. Congress should have term limits too. Producer Matt says, from an outside perspective, and I may be wrong, but it feels like the American Democrats are putting too much faith in the legal system stopping 47 that they feel they shouldn't have to do more. Even though 47 is actively dismantling it. Real Django, good to have you here. I stopped thinking SCOTUS would be the entity to end 47 BS. Yeah, they stopped similar things here and there, but not the bigger issues. Look who's in the house, Dr. Tachi. Good to have you here. And Real Dango says, "Hey, Dr. Tachi." Then also, Enlightened Being says, "As I recall, Lala and Aisha laid out Project 2025 last year, and I see this falls right in line with their plans."
Oh yeah, and here's the other thing. To Lala's point about people not doing enough to get rid of this guy, and I think the frustration, and I can see where the exhaustion comes in, where even if people did more, it won't change anything, because our system is set that even if we get rid of him, they're like whack-a-moles. The next 18 behind him, you're gonna have to pound harder, and it's kind of like you want him gone, but you also don't want him gone, because the people behind him. He for him, and I wrote this in a piece that just came out on Friendo Media last week. For him, everything is ego. He's ruled by it. He's controlled by it. These people, it's not ego for them. For them, this is the stuff that they enjoy. They like. They want this. This is the kind of America that they want. And as far as they're concerned, it's not going far enough. And I think that
and not fast enough. You see how
fast enough. Right. And what and Regina makes this point about birthright citizenship. Here's the thing that SCOTUS did. Instead of judging on the merits of what Trump was doing and saying, no, he cannot do this for everybody, what they judged, what they took at issue was whether or not injunctions from one judge can be spread to the entire country.
Right.
So it's not exactly, so technically he didn't get a win on birthright citizenship, because they never actually took birthright citizenship under consideration. What they took under consideration were these injunctions. And this is how he knows it's wrong. He knows it's a losing point. His attorneys didn't even argue the merits of birthright citizenship. They didn't argue the merits of his executive order. What they said was, look at the injunctions. And what they did was they didn't so much as give this man free reign as they did cripple the courts, because he keeps losing in the courts, and he needed them to say these judges have a limit.
But see, that's the part of the plan. O'Bannon has
Project 2025.
Front. It's the whole plan. Flood the whole thing. You cannot catch everything, because this big, beautiful, it's still getting bounced and forth, back and forth. And everybody was upset because they praised him in Congress. Well, maybe it's not done yet. It's going back and forth. Why? But see, you watching that, and then 25 other things are going on at your head. This is the plan. You can't catch everything.
Right. He wants people to be upset about things. I said this before on this program. I will say it again. When we say that Democrats aren't doing enough, they're not doing enough because they're trying to all deal with all the problems. Like I said before, what they need to do is divide up the work. You all are just going to focus on his court issues in the courts. You all are going to focus just on immigration. This group of you is going to focus just on this bill. This group of you is going to focus on this thing that he's doing. This group of you is going to focus on him going after academia. Because the thing is, because it's so much all at once, they're all over the place trying to hit all the things, when this requires a very targeted strategy, a very specific strategy, and not everyone can hit everything, because not everyone is good at it. Let's be honest. There are some Dems out here missing the mark. Even when they try to make these statements, because Kirsten Gillibrand, these people are out here missing the mark. So if you don't have anything to say that's going to advance us, actually, I kind of wish you would just shut up.
Yeah, go sit down somewhere, because we got work to do.
Exactly. That part.
You
Don't
got
sit in the corner.
who was it? Big Daddy Kane says, I got the job done.
I get the job done.
I work, baby. I
Produced
work.
by Teddy Riley.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Again, a lot of people live are watching on the YouTube channel, so I got an interactive poll for everyone to do if you're up to it on the YouTube channel. So here's the poll. How do you feel about the Supreme Court's decision on birthright? Okay, I have to change that. Option 3. I've got, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take that off because I gotta edit it. I had something wrong there. Okay, we'll come back. Continue on with your comments, lady.
But you know what? I'll tell you this. You know what? When Enlightened Being said this before, Regina said it before, everyone else who said that we have mentioned this in Project 2025. The thing is, this here, if you read Project 2025, they do want to attack birthright citizenship, but they say they want to do that through executive order, which is what he tried. In the court, they didn't even, his own attorneys didn't even try to defend his executive order. But the thing that they did put in Project 2025 that a lot of people missed because they might not have understood it was this thing about injunctions, nationwide injunctions. And they didn't understand that that just meant that if a judge says, you know, I want this to stop for the whole country until we get to the heart of this, then that works. And our justice system can work. I think the thing that we're going to have to reevaluate is, does it need to work so slowly? That's part of and Trump knows this, and he's taking advantage of that. And I think that if the news media actually reported on how many losses he's had in court, I think people would understand more why he went after that than just birthright citizenship on the face.
We need a whole news channel that just reports on that. Like, because there's so many things happening in the world, you can only cover so much. And we all know that our news is corrupt. But then another thing that they do is they repeat themselves over and over, and they say the same stuff over and over, and none of this part is getting reported. I wish someone had enough money to have a news outlet that would just come out and show everything that is going on behind the scenes.
And there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And here's the thing that I think people don't realize is that, you know, when the legal team, and I only know this because I am working with an attorney on a case. When a legal team sits with their client, they sit with, strategize different things and how things come up, and then you've got to respond to all kinds of different. Know that his team, they knew everything that he did, everything that he wanted to do, and they knew what would lose. They knew what would lose. They knew how, because remember, those 6 justices, he appointed 3 of them. And before they came, and remember, these are their final judgments for the end of this session. The thing that they know, and how we know pressure was put on them, is because Pam Bondi said, oh, we're really going after the 14th. In October. That's when they go back into session. And that tells you they knew their case wasn't strong enough on that this go around. They just wanted them to stop the injunctions so that they can get to a point that they can do this.
Exactly.
Right. I have just updated the poll, so everything should be in good lining now. I'm going to show it on the screen. So if you're watching live on the YouTube channel, how do you feel about the Supreme Court's decision on birthright citizenship? 1, I strongly agree with it. 2, I somewhat agree. 3, I somewhat disagree. 4, I strongly disagree. Vote now. All you have to do is hit one of the numbers and press enter, and we'll get back to the poll in just a moment. Let's get to some of the comments here. Okay. We got the votes coming in. There we go in real time. We got some comments here, catching up here. A little bit crazy. Okay, we're back. Okay, Dr. Tachi says the real Dango. Hey there. And also, the real Dango says smiley face. Enlightened Being says this is the long with the corruption, and the long with the corruption an end game plan. Long.
Yep.
Regina says, yeah, but like him or not, 47 is a cult leader.
Mhm.
The Project 2025 adherents have zero charisma. Think Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance. By the way, the big BB is getting gutted by the parliamentarian.
You know what's funny about us? Yeah, you know what's funny though about calling it the Big Beautiful Bill? The majority of people on Medicaid are white. He thinks it's beautiful that white people will die. And that's the message that Democrats need to say. Because that is the message that will get to people. They don't care about there are people in this country, they don't care about seeing Latinos rounded up out of their neighborhoods from their jobs. They don't care about anything else. But you tell them that people who look like them and their kids are going to die. And you have to keep saying the majority of people on Medicaid are white. Majority of people on Medicaid are white. Majority of people on Medicaid are white. Because as long as that information is still,
it's not going to sink in until it happens.
It's not going to sink in until it happens. But we also have to change the language of it too, because the language around it has been the thing that has stuck. When you ask any person, you ask any common white person off the street, and I know this because I had to do this for a job, to report on that. Oh, it's mostly Black people and the Hispanics. No, it's not. And so it's like we're at this point where we're gonna have to reteach things. Just like I promise you, a lot of people did not realize that the majority of those people that died from COVID were white. And you know how
it's not going to be brought out to many, many years later. It's not going to be brought out to many, many years later. We may not even be here when that truth comes out.
Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing with him as and cult leaders. Those people are baked in. And I guess for me, I don't care about those people. I don't care about trying to get through to them. I really don't. The people that are bothering me more than anything are the moderate people. They are the moderates, the people who are in the middle, people who call themselves centrist. You know what? We're not in a time where you can be moderate and be in the center. You got to be on one side or the other and pick a side. And when you pick a side, you need to go hard.
Or they say, in my case, someone in my circle, I'm a libertarian.
Libertarian is another word of saying you are a Republican. Put it this way. That's like saying you're Latino, but you're Ecuadorian and not Puerto Rican. That's like saying that you're Black, but you're Jamaican or Nigerian. Still Black.
And they're Native American.
It's the same thing. You could say you're a libertarian. You can say you're a fundamentalist, and most of y'all can say you're independent. But guess what? You are soft Republicans.
Exactly.
Regina goes, Dr. Tachi, you need to weigh in. Yes, if Dr. Tachi, usually this is not like Dr. Tachi just be in the background. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to show the results of the poll so far that we have going on. And yeah, well, it seems that strongly disagree is so far the winner, not the winner, a leader in this. So no, not a surprise with this audience. Not a surprise with this audience. Okay. Do we go forward, or have we finished our comments on this one?
Yeah, I'm done. This is something we'll come back to. Okay.
Now, what about this next one? The dishonesty of the 47 administration with regards to Iran. Lala's look. Oh my gosh. That look. There's an old song, if looks could kill, I'd be dead on arrival.
It's not, it's not even funny. It's you put people's lives, you put our military in danger. Your stupidity of even putting things out there to put them in danger. They had to send a decoy because of his stupidity. Our military had to send a decoy. And now he broke the law by not going through Congress. And Congress failed to impeach on that, including 128 Democrats. And now we're seeing that once again, just like everything else that he's ever done in his life, he's lied. And he's put out hits on people with words, because anytime that he completely knows that he has screwed up, what's the first thing out of his mouth? Sleepy Joe Biden. The Democrats did it. They should all be prosecuted. You didn't even let them in on any of this.
Right. How could they leak something you didn't tell them about?
Straight up here.
Well, you know, here's the other part for me that really, really got me. He did what he did, and all this is part of the plan. Because if you go back to Prop 2025, what was part of the plan? Part of the plan was limiting the amount of information that they would be able to give to Congress. What is the first thing that he said after the leak? They've termed they're not giving information to Congress, specifically Democrats in Congress. Okay, so that they can't declare war if they need to. But here's the thing for me that really, I think people need to understand the timeline of these events and how it happened, because we're keep learning it. So basically, before there was any strike or anything, he is giving warnings. He's going on social media telling people something big is going to happen and then they need to get out of Tehran. This is why they needed a decoy, because Mr. Diarrhea at the mouth tells all of the stuff. Okay, crazy. So then they do this thing. Now, let's be very clear. Here's the part that he's really, one, they don't know if the rockets that they dropped went deep enough, because guess what? They're not letting the whatchamacallit people in, to the UN people to go in and check. Not that they won't let them in, but Trump had to rush to that and say, I did it, pick me. I did all this stuff before they got verification. People are like, wait a second, we can't just trust you because you said it. Your own military sending decoys. We can't just trust you.
Why not?
We can just trust you. So
is true.
Right. So he's mad about that part of it. And then someone leaks and says, hey, they shouldn't have done this in the first place. So now he's pissed at that. And then to make matters worse, Iran tells everybody, he knew we were going to do our thing, because our retaliation, because we called Qatar. We told Qatar, hey, give them a heads up. And then this fool says, I already knew that they were going to do this. Because what? So wait. So you knew that they were going to bomb our thing and you did nothing to protect it? You let it happen? You just you knew it was going to happen. So you just okay, cool. Wait, so you let this happen? So let's be very clear. They're being dishonest. He's embarrassed. He is thoroughly embarrassed, because no one's saying, oh, it's this, it's that. Because his people, like we said, I think I said this last week, right? Shortly after, within hours, his people were nominating him for a Nobel Peace Prize. And then they come, and then Iran comes on and says, yeah, we're not doing a ceasefire. Sorry. Too bad. So
we saw that coming.
We said that last week. We said that last week. And so they're
getting played.
Right. And so he's so embarrassed that he has the SecDef, who has done no press conferences in 6 months, go out there and do a press conference where he yells at and berates the media, including one of his former co-workers from Fox, telling her that she was the most dishonest. And I'm glad she pushed back. But here's the thing. He's mad, and they're mad that nobody is just believing them on their word, because you lied 32,000 times the last time you were president. Why would anybody believe
this? Here's the thing. This will be old news next week, and we'll be off to something else that he's done wrong.
Yeah. But
Or
the bottom,
illegally.
but all this stuff this week about this and the dishonesty and sending the media on this road trip of dishonesty was to pull away from the thing that was falling apart, which was this bill. The bill's falling apart. It's falling
Exactly.
apart. It's falling apart so bad and it's so sneaky and scary that they did a whole overhaul of it, put 946 pages out last night in the middle of the night because they don't want people to read it, and they're in
They
voting
always do
to
things
death.
in the dark.
They're doing, and the thing that it does, the thing in that bill, and one of the sticking points that the Republicans are having on it aren't just about Medicaid. It takes away the power of Congress to declare war. They put that in that bill. And so this is a sticking point for the Republicans. But I think, and Democrats are doing the only thing that I guess they can do to stall, which I think is good, and I think it should happen. But whether or not it happens. But they asked that all 946 pages are read on the floor. If we're going to do if we're going to vote on the bill, we need to know what it says.
Well, we already know that a lot of them have had to come out and say they never read it in the first place when they passed it on Congress.
Well, they didn't read this one. This one came out, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and they were back to work at 8:30.
Okay.
They didn't read that.
I just want to stop right here. We're going to do another interactive poll for those people who are watching live on YouTube. So this is the poll. Let's put it up. Do you feel the 47 administration was honest about their actions with Iran? 1, yes, they were mostly honest. 2, they were often dishonest. 3, I'm not sure. 4, I didn't follow this closely. Please put your votes in, and we will keep you updated on the results. Oh, all right. So things are, as you see already. So, and now is it Tulsi Gabbard a few months ago said that Iran didn't have?
Baby girl told the truth, and now she's getting slammed for it.
She said that last week. And then they went and bombed anyway. And then notice when they had all these things with Pete Hegseth and stuff, they did not have her out. Then she walked back, and now she's walking back and saying, "Oh yeah, I was wrong before. We actually did have this intelligence." But she's been shut down. Yeah, but the thing that people should really pay attention to is while Pete Hegseth was railing and flailing and cursing and going off, the guy who was the chief of not the chief of staff, who is he? The chief, oh God, of the military, the actual chief in the military. There's a name for Joint Chiefs, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff for the military. He said he doesn't do the superlative talk. Yes. Okay. He said, I'm going to tell you what, there was damage. But see, Trump was embarrassed because it was assessed that they estimate the damage only put Iran back 2 or 3 months. This is all this is about. All this hand wringing and the drunk boy out there, being drunk and spitting and screaming like he's on fire, or just coming off a bender. They're all over there. And that's because he's embarrassed behind that thing that it didn't happen. That's why they all continue to use the word obliterated, and they all have been using it. They got the memo. They get the letter that says everybody use this word. And I'm sorry, but I think Democrats need the same thing. They need somebody just to pump out a memo. Everybody use this word. Use it as much as possible every time you talk. Period. Because that's what they do. That's all they've done, and that's what they're doing, and that's why people in this country believe what they believe and think what they think about it. His belief, and he said it before. If you say something long enough, people start to believe it.
Yeah.
Okay, Regina says most people who say they are libertarians aren't. Going back to the previous conversation, the Walamala says they got played. Enlightened Being says we all know the quote "don't tread on me" unquote motto just means it's okay to tread on you. Regina also says, by the way, Biden and Harris both attended Melissa Hartman's funeral.
And Trump did not and would not call Tim Walz because Tim Walz is whack.
Okay. And she also says, did we ever discuss Tulsi's nuclear war video? Now she is, it says, now she is not allowed in security meetings. I think she's out.
Well, no, did anyone see, we know why Tulsi is out. And I think that she knew that her time was limited because she got done what she needed to get done. Did anybody see Rachel Maddow on Monday?
No.
On Monday, Rachel Maddow spelled out exactly what this mess is. And the thing of it was, Tulsi Gabbard was on, there used to be this list called, was it Quiet Skies or something like this, where if somebody was on a list or suspected of having some ties to Russian oligarchs and like close relationships, or has said things that should make the government concerned, they'll put a U.S. Marshal on a flight that person is going to be on. Well, you know who is on that list? Tulsi Gabbard. You know what they don't do anymore? They don't do Quiet Skies anymore. They got rid of the program. Because Tulsi Gabbard, right? Because Tulsi Gabbard, one, got taken off that list, and two, they got rid of the Quiet Skies program. So now, just so you know, you can be flying on a plane. Well, I'm gonna fly in August, so I don't even want to say it because I have a severe fear of flying. So, but you can pretty much understand.
Wow. So Regina says, I skipped a barbecue to be here. No need to hear informed voices after this crazy week. Well, thank you. Say thank you to Aisha LaLa. They're the informed voices. I just manage a ship. They drive the ship. I just steer it. They drive it. The Real Dango says, thank you, sir. Good to have you. I haven't seen you in a long time. Regina says, Maddow's takedown of Tulsi was epic.
It was. She connected all the dots to Tulsi and to this stuff going down. And I mean, if you have, it's on YouTube, you can watch it, but I say go listen to that, because Tulsi's takedown is about as it's Tulsi leaving is about as short as Marco Rubio leaving. I promise you. I said it before, you guys. Marco Rubio will be gone by the end of the year, and he's going to put his hat in the race for governor of Florida to run against his former Republican House member who's now a Democrat.
You really think he's going to do that?
Yes, because Byron Donalds is dying in the polls there. They will say he will. You know why he will say he will, because he needs to keep a blue Florida. He will send Marco Rubio there before he lets Byron Donalds die like that. The same way that, because remember who else he sent because he couldn't have a shift. Remember who else's position he took away? Stinky Stefanik. Remember, she's supposed to be U.S. ambassador, and he said, "Ooh, things are bad. Yeah, we're gonna keep you there." Because he had to get rid of Mike Walls, remember? Yes. He had to get rid of Mike Walls because Mike Walls, he was going to fire him, but then he didn't want the embarrassment. So he had to start playing them like a chessboard. And I think that the same thing's going to happen with Marco Rubio. And I think Marco Rubio, let's be honest, Marco Rubio is going to try and get out of there as quickly as possible, because I think that he will try to run for president again. All these people who are sitting in his cabinet that are somewhat serious, like Marco Rubio, really are there because they're waiting for that man to be formed. Because here's the other thing. None of them can run for president ever while they're still, of age to do it, because he's in their way and he keeps flirting with not leaving. And the thing of it is, the way that the country is shifting, nobody's going to want older presidents. So these people are going to be old.
Want to say hello to Bobby Turner, who is liking the conversation on Facebook. So I believe he's liking. I was going, that must be part of the LaLa family. Must be part of the LaLa family. All right, let's go back to.
I think we should also remember. I just want to put this out there and have people remember it, because I think we often forget. He almost died from COVID. The doctors that treated him at Walter Reed have said that he almost died from COVID.
So there's our poll, and 100% the people who have voted say no, they were often dishonest in regards to the policy actions with Iran. Let me ask both of you, do you feel this may have been a diversion tactic in regards to the bill?
Of course.
Yeah, there's no need for
There's always a diversion from something. When things are not going his way, this is when they throw the smoke screens up. And the thing is, there's so many people that get the shiny object syndrome that they're so worried about looking at what's in front of them that they're not seeing through the smoke screen. This was a total ploy, total ploy for this. And not only that, it's a dangerous total ploy because you put people's lives at risk.
Yeah, and I mean, I would just implore Lala to say that again.
Rewind.
Because it's true. Everything. I mean, honestly, if he needed to let off a nuclear weapon in Iran to distract people from the fact that this bill is failing, he would do it. It's not above him.
He has no morals. He has no clues. He has no self-disrespect. He has no conscience. He's just plain evil. And so therefore he's going to do everything he can to stay in power. I keep telling y'all, and he even told us, I ain't got to keep telling you, his whole plan is to stay in there for the rest of his daggone life. And he's already got his cronies now. If you haven't noticed, his cronies now are pushing for Barron to run for president.
Well, even beyond, and even beyond this part, if you listen to Republicans in Congress, they have basically given up the fact that there will be another election.
But that's the
problem. I don't mean presidential. I mean next year. Mike Johnson basically let that slip that there might not be an election next year. What the hell is you?
Because things are going to get overturned. But guys, they're already testing the water with that because they're doing it in Miami.
Yep.
Already pushed off an election. They let me repeat, alarm, danger, Will Robinson. They've already put off an election for next year because it's not going to behoove them and go in their way. So they've extended the people, the mayor and whoever else is on that ballot until next year. They're testing the water in Florida.
Well, they already did, but guess what? They already did it in Texas before that. Because remember, Sheila Jackson Lee died last year before the election. The guy who won her seat died January, the night of the State of the Union. So that seat is empty. And they had to put pressure on Abbott to say that there will be an election, but he hasn't given a date. So there are people who are running for that seat, but Abbott hasn't decided on a date. That's what's holding up that seat being filled. And that's also what's keeping the margin in the House what it is by one seat. They would actually be just 2. But there's 3 now because of that.
It's crazy.
It is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's getting crazier.
Like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. The more I know, the less I understand. Oh, gosh. Okay, let's move on. Okay. So is this the last we're going to hear about Iran? I guess it's off the plate. No. This man was thoroughly embarrassed by Iran because he comes out there and says, oh, we've got a peace agreement. It's going to be a ceasefire. Kaboom. What's the real relationship in both of yours lenses with U.S. and Israel?
I think we have the same president.
Mr. Kookity Coo is playing us because he knows that he can. His whole plan, and it's been leaked. His whole plan was to get us involved in the first place to help fight what he wants to fight.
Yeah, he did. And I think that the thing is this: he couldn't entice Joe Biden into a war against Palestine. And I need all the people who were calling him Genocide Joe. Honestly, if he would have just joined him in doing all the bombings there. What you're really talking about is genocide Trump, because honestly, let's be very clear, people died from the bombing in Iran by Israel. We're not talking about that. People were killed. Kids were killed, right? They might have killed a person there in leadership. Well, they said they did. More civilians
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
they did leadership. And that part needs to be told. Notice it took no convincing, no urging, no to enter into actually. And here's the thing about him not having congressional approval. He's calling it a war himself. He's using the word war. And you know what I need? I need, and you know what? If I was in Congress right now, I would forget the leadership. I'm going over your head. I would file a suit because he's saying we're in war. War requires our approval. He didn't get it, and he said he's not asking for it.
And oh, honey, he claiming I don't need to ask nobody. I'm gonna do it.
Right. Then you keep calling it a war, and I would take him to court. Yes, we don't know what the court's going to do, but the reading of but the thing is that if you're the plaintiff and you take him to court, on the fact that this Constitution says these words. Here he is calling it a war, saying the war. Here is Truth Social Post. He said we're at war. Here's the war. That's what needs to be done. That's what needs to be done. And that is the person that can strategize like that, like what I just said, is the person that Democrats need to hire.
Well, you saw what they did to our beloved Jasmine this week.
Yeah, they didn't vote for her.
They didn't?
And I no, but I have a feeling that had a lot to do with the people in now the guy that did win, he would have been my second choice anyway. But I think the Jasmine thing had a lot to do with people like Nancy Pelosi and stuff talking.
No,
the same people that if they had just shut up last year, this summer, this time last year, actually, if they had just shut up a year ago today, you know what would have happened? Nothing. We would have just had an election. Because remember, it was last June.
Yeah.
That they couldn't let the bad debate. Yes, it was bad. It was disappointing. It was hurtful, but they couldn't let it go. And now we know the man was probably dealing with cancer.
Wow.
Because guess what? You know what though? I have to say this. If I'm gonna go there, honestly, if I was Joe Biden, I actually would have told. I would have just been like, sorry, I was a little off my game. I just found out I had cancer. That would have shut everybody down. Actually, he would have won. Actually, no, honestly, people probably would have voted for him because people deal with cancer every day and they still work and they still survive.
No, Aisha, no, he wouldn't. No, because we know how this whole election was won.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, but he wouldn't have been put out. We do know how it was won, and I think that's the thing that should come out. I think that's the thing that and I think, you know what, Lala, I'm glad you said that, because I think that is if we're talking about dishonesty on Trump's part and his administration's part, I think the Democrats have to start with their own dishonesty too. Anyone who sits here and thinks that Trump won legitimately this go around, after knowing from the Mueller report, from the Mueller hearings, that he didn't win legitimately the last time, y'all got to stop being the bigger person about this. When the information comes out from the people who make the voting machines saying, yo, something was funky with our stuff, that's when you have to start asking for hearings. And guess what? If they're not going to give you the hearings or anything like that, you can have them in town halls and present the evidence to the people. Call the people up who are filing the suit, who are the makers of that voting machine. Have them go with you on a tour.
Dr. Chachi says Nancy Pelosi needs to grow tomatoes in a garden.
Nancy Pelosi needs to go home, do her physical therapy on her new hip, and really take care of herself. You know, that hip, I know she doesn't have it, but that hip only lasts 20 years. You're gonna have to get it replaced again, Nancy. So go home, take a rest. And I only know this because my stepmother had hers replaced Monday.
I don't care what you do, just go home.
On that note, let's move to the next conversation.
Take your little walker with your tennis balls and go back to California.
Next conversation piece, 47 is back again, cutting off trade talks with Canada. Not only the Canadian piece, but what are your thoughts about all this trade talk he's been going on with? And
he's cutting off trade talks with Canada while he's at war with Iran, and gas is gonna go up. Dude,
but
you need to start talking to Canada.
$2 on average.
Oh, it's already up.
Today and said gas all over the nation is $2 a gallon.
No, the gas that I paid for yesterday was $3.13, but there's a gas station by my sister's house I passed on my way here today that was $3.69. I don't know what he's talking about, but there is not $2 in. Well, I take that back. The $2 gas in Connecticut is $2.99, and you have to go way far to get that.
Maybe it ain't that in California. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Mm-hmm. And let me tell you something. Gas has gone up because 2 weeks ago it was $2.83. I paid $2.83 a gallon 2 weeks ago. Yesterday I paid $3.13. So you know what? Gas is about to go up because we're not talking to Canada and Iran. You know, so much for bombing Iran. Iran's gonna bomb us back if we keep it up, and we're not prepared for that kind of smoke.
What do you think of his overall tactics on trade? Him and his trade here.
He's stupid.
He doesn't know anything. He just thinks what he does is he caters to MAGA. He lies to them. They believe it. And so he continues the lie. It's a big lie. Absolutely everything that he has done has been a lie. He doesn't even know how to tell the truth. He fancies himself, you know, this big businessman. Well, he's failed absolutely everything he's put his hands in.
Right.
Casinos, real estate, schools. So, you know, these make-believe people, kook aid people who want to continue to believe him, that's who he's catering to. That's all he cares about. He has no plan other than to stay in power.
And he's also really stupid because he does not know how tariffs work. He literally thinks that he's right on this, that other countries. I mean, because the thing is that it's not just that he says it to make other people believe it. He really does think that tariffs get paid for by the other country. But what the part is that they're not cutting checks to the country. He literally thinks that's how it happens. What they're doing is they're just saying, okay, for us to put this thing here, this container here, we're gonna have to pay for that for us to put it here. Okay. Company that you bought this from, we need X number of dollars for this tariffs. Oh, in our account. Okay, there you go. That's how that happens. Yeah, they might be paying it off. But the money came from the person that bought it. And the person that bought it is going to raise your prices. Because they're not paying for that out of their pockets. They're happy to pay for it out of yours. So he's cutting off trade talks with Canada. Guess what? I hope every country doesn't talk to him on trade. Because you know what? It will serve people right to have to pay more for things, to not be able to get things that they need, for them to see that And that's the hurting part you were talking about, LaLa, before.
Yeah. But every time someone bows down to him, I just want to get physically sick. I should not have to want harm to come to people, or harm or negotiations to fall apart, knowing that it's going to also affect me and those that I love, for any kind of justice to happen. Honestly, I just don't want people working with him at all.
Well, you know what, though, LaLa, about what you said about people giving into him. We've got the University of Virginia. That president resigning. On one hand, I'm like, no, you let them fire you. On the other hand, Trump's people kill. We saw that last week.
Yes.
And I can understand some of these people like, I got kids. F the country, I got kids. I get that. I can get that. So he's putting people in a very untenable position. But there are people who can fight and that should fight and that aren't.
Why aren't they fighting? Or what's the reason for them not fighting? Let's put it that way.
They want to win their seats again. And they think by not fighting that they'll be able to win just enough Republicans to keep them where they're at. If I go too far, I won't have the votes I need. Clearly, these people aren't looking at their post-election information, because their post-election information would tell them who voted for them and who they need to talk to, going further. Like, I think, like, for example, the race in New York City.
Yeah.
That young man is looking at his post-polling things. And the thing that he found out and he learned was that he is underwater with Black voters over 35. He realizes he's got to work on that. And he intends to work on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's the thing. Here's the thing. These people in Congress need to get that degree of thing. Because the thing is, when you know who your voters are, or when you know who showed up for you, you don't have to ever be afraid of the people who won't show up for you. And that's why do you think Trump has so much confidence? He knows who shows up for him. He doesn't even worry about who won't show up for him. He doesn't care about who won't show up for him. He focuses on the people who will show up for him and who do show up for him. And that is Democrats' biggest sticking point. They don't show up for the people who show up for them. They keep trying to go get these mythological Republicans who will vote blue. They keep trying to go get these mythological independents who won't vote Republican. They don't exist. They keep trying to say, guess what? They keep trying to say, yes, guess what? We are a big tent, but we're a big tent that does have beliefs. And let's be very clear about that, because the thing is, like, I was reading an article today. Oh, Dems aren't sure what they believe. That's not true. Democrats know what they believe in. They know what they believe in. The problem is that they are so worried about trying to convince other people to believe in what they believe in, to vote for them, that they're not just saying, guess what? I'm only sticking with my tribe, the people who believe what I believe. And guess what? I know there's enough of them. And I know that they touch other people. And that's the problem that Democrats have. It's not what are our policies? It's the fact that you spent, and not just Kamala, I'm talking about Joe Biden too. The Democrats, and it's not just them. I'm talking about DLC, DNC, DCC, DSS. All those organizations spent all 12 months last year trying to get Republicans for Harris, Republicans for Biden, Haley voters for Biden. They spent more time and money. I keep wondering, what did they spend that $1 billion on?
I'd like to know.
They didn't spend it on Black Talk Radio.
No,
they didn't spend it on Black media. They didn't spend it with Latino media to any extent. They didn't spend it with the queer community, because if they did, they would have bought that ad. So where'd they spend it? I promise you, they spent it trying to convince disaffected Republicans and independents to cross the line. People who, I'm Republican, I don't like him, but I just never voted. They spent more trying to coax those people to do something they weren't going to do anyway, and they weren't prepared to do.
Just want to interrupt here quick, because there's been a number of comments since caught up here. Regina says, nobody knows what the actual results of the bombing are and won't for months. I'm just ignoring the BS.
Yeah.
She also says, she is going the way of Dianne Feinstein. I wish she would quit. Look, Dr. Tachi says, look, Canada doesn't care. They're not playing with him. Regina says, Mark Carney is running circles around him. Dr. Tachi says, hey, Regina. And Regina says, well, I guess she's president of the Dr. Tachi fan club, says, it's so good to have you in the house. Dr. Tachi says to stay in power and continue to be admired by fools.
Yep.
And Light Being says, Lala got serious, capital letters, LOL. She's right, though. Regina says, I love that I can throw Tucker Carlson stating Fox News ramps up the propaganda in maggots' faces. And Dr. Tachi says, and many of those looking to be reelected are in the age of Matula Sadrich and Majpita Bendico. So it's time for them to retire anyway.
I agree.
They are biblical characters. And Regina says, to me, Bernie and Zohan represent the beliefs and policies of the true blue Democratic Party. Do you believe that?
I'm telling you something about Bernie and why I don't believe him at all. And why I'm so sick of him. Because Bernie continues to want to ignore the impact of race. He wants to bring it all down to class. Bernie, we are over here debating the 14th Amendment. Don't tell me it's not about race.
What are your thoughts on that, Aisha? Bernie Sanders.
You mean Lala?
Lala.
I used to be a very big supporter of Bernie, but I feel like he's completely out of touch now. I appreciate the work that him and AOC are currently doing. It needs to be done, but I also think Bernie needs to step down as well as Pelosi and everybody else. I'm sorry, you've had your time. Let a new breed and a new breath come in and do what they need to do. Go home, enjoy your family, because obviously you still don't get it all the way.
And I'm gonna say this, let me be honest. I want to see young people, but can we get the octogenarians out the way and at least let some Gen Xers in?
At this time, I wish they would just line up and say, look, oh man, we're going to take you to the home. We're just going to take over for you, because a lot of them are. Listen, let's be very honest. A lot of these older people, you don't see them much anymore, do you? Where are they? They home taking naps. Yeah. And then somebody else do the work, but then they want to come in and then open their mouths like Pelosi and cause harm when it comes to Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah. I would say this about these people, about the people in Pelosi's era. Here's the thing. And I tried to explain this to someone who is 20 and saying that, they're the youngest person at the table. There needs to be more young people and they don't understand it. And I told them, I said, I hate what's happening. I hate that that's happening for you, but you are just 20. It's not like you don't have time after that. I said, so let me tell you this. I'm telling you this from someone who also has been the youngest person at the table at 28. Okay. The same people who were in leadership then are in leadership now. And at 20, if you think you are going to jump over a generation who was the youngest at the table and have been waiting for those people to go home, it's not going to happen, honey. There's going to be a fight, because Gen Xers will fight you on this one. Because, I think it's great for every generation after us. If you want to start that as a thing, go ahead. But what you're not going to do is let Gen X is leapfrog over Gen Xers and think it's going to happen. First of all, let me just take that thought out your mind.
Right.
Okay? Because first of all, even the thought of it, your feelings are going to get hurt. That's the first thing. Your feelings are going to get hurt. And then these people that are in our way need to get out the way, because we want to lead. We not only do we want, we know it at this point. Because guess what? We're tired of taking care of you. We're taking care of our adult kids. Some of us are taking care of grandkids. Some of us are taking care of pets. On top of all this stuff,
grandparents. We taking care of all of them.
Exactly. So when we say we had it, and we're not for their BS, and we're also not for yours, talking about old people need to move out the way. Excuse me. You call us old, and the boomers keep telling us we're too young. I think we're just about right.
I think so too.
Okay. Comments. Got to catch up. There have been, in the last 5 minutes, it's got woof. Regina says, Dr. Tachi, ROFL. Regina says, to me, Bernie and Zorhan represent the beliefs and policies of True Blue Democratic Party. Dr. Tachi says, I think the concept of race scares Bernie.
The concept of race scares everyone in Vermont. Trust me, they're just one state up. They're like 2 states above.
All right.
You gotta get.
Regina says, Jorhan said white neighborhoods need to pay more taxes. Regina said, I think Bernie is passing the torch to AOC. Dr. Tachi says, yes, they won't let Gen X get in for anything. Dr. Tachi says, some of these people have been in power since we were little. Soraya Machado, coming on Lala's platform, says, you are right, but the older folks need to pass on the nuggets of wisdom to the young folks. And the Walamala says Nancy relies on inside trading to earn a livable wage. Yeah, that's a whole story there.
Yep.
Yes.
You know how I feel about that.
Yes.
I don't care what party line you're in on that. It's wrong, and we all know it.
As a commentator said a little while back when I was a student, that I don't know how much these people get paid in the Senate, but they're multimillionaires. How did that happen? Interesting. And Dr. Tachi says Gen X's theme song is, quote, we're not gonna take it. my twisted sister.
And we should admire Dee Snider, because Dee Snider was one of the people who fought against censorship, and he's currently he told Trump can't use his music.
He sure did. He
said, no, you cannot use my song.
You're not using mine.
And look who's here, my man, Ryan O'Neill Knight. Question.
Ryan!
Is there any way for the older generation to guide the next generations coming? Because I feel like, the boomers have now held on so long that the ones after X feel like they're entitled.
And that last line is the problem. And see, I agree. I think that the older generation should guide the next generation. Ryan and Soraya make good points. Hi, Lala's niece, Soraya. And they make good points. Here's the problem that we have. Young people, and I'm going to say y'all. I know it might not be the two of you, but y'all spent so much time insulting boomers.
Yeah.
When you did the whole okay boomer thing, what did you think was going to happen? They're not getting out of the way now because they're not tired. They're not getting out of the way now because of spite. And we know this because those are our parents. They do spiteful things. They are the generation of spite. So apart from that, can they pass on the wisdom? Here's the problem that you have. You're asking the wrong generation for the wisdom. You should be asking Gen X. You keep leapfrogging over us. You should ask us for the wisdom, because guess what? We know how to deal with them, and we know how to deal with the remaining people in the generation before them, because those are our grandparents. So, but also too, we also have one foot in this digital divide, because we've had to straddle that line a lot longer. So when you're talking about, well, the older generation, that we need their wisdom. No, you don't. You need to start talking to us instead of over us and at them, to scream at them, and vice versa to them yelling over us. Because see, here's the thing. Everybody thinks that Gen X has nothing to say, or that we don't want to be involved in your shenanigans, because the bottom line is that we sit here and we look at both generations and think you're both being foolish. We think that the younger generations than us need to bring the ego down a bit. And the reason we say that is because we had to go through that. We had to learn that lesson. And then we think that the older people, guess what? We're tired of y'all being there too. Move.
It's a weird place. It's a weird space. I'm telling you, it is. It's a strange space to be in.
Wow. Wow, that was a throwdown by Aisha. Anything else you want to follow up with after that one?
Nope. Nope. She said it all.
Okay. Some more comments here. Soraya says 100% to what Aisha just said. Walama says baby boomers are acting like babies. Regina
But
says,
remember, we all revert back to that in our life. You know, you come in the world as a baby, you
Well,
actually leave pretty much like that too.
let
So
me, okay, here's the thing too. I don't think that the younger generations understands how old baby boomers are.
yeah,
They are in their 70s, not just early 70s, mid and late 70s,
yeah,
and some are in their 80s.
yeah.
They're acting like late 70s and 80-year-old people. Do you know how cold? My mother and I were in the car today. I, perimenopausal, menopausal. My mother, way postmenopausal. She's in her 70s and she gets 70-year-old lady cold.
Yep.
I'm sweating like crazy.
Hmm.
And I have the air blasting. And my mother, I'm so cold. It's cold. You're not cold. And I'm like, no, I'm not cold. It's not
Right.
cold enough. And my daughter, who is Gen Z, was in the back seat. Wow. So when I say that, is in me, it's so hot I'm about to blow a head gasket on somebody. Just one more thing that somebody needs to say or do to this. I wanted to describe that because I think you have to understand that's the dynamic we're dealing with. Oh, and I do have millennial cousins, and guess what they're off doing? They're off being millennials. There are things that they care about that they're very serious about. And then there are times that I sit and talk to them and I'm like, you really think that's how the world works?
Yeah. Yeah. Where's your head? Yeah.
Right. So the thing of it is that I think that when you're the generation in the middle, and when I say the middle, we're a generation that has 2 behind us, 2.5 ahead of us. When you're the middle child, you sit and you look and you see, but let me tell you, my middle sister is right in there. I can tell you, she can sit in there and tell you about her older sister and her middle sister and the differences between the old, because she's watched both. And the thing is, when you're in the middle, you do a lot of sitting and watching.
wow,
This is how you can do.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of fire. Regina says, I had a debate with David Hogg. Candidates in their 30s and 40s are better candidates than most in their 20s. There are exceptions like Maxwell Frost, but he was politically active since he was 15. Dr. Tachi says, also remember that
I don't trust David Hogg.
Hogue. So Dr. Tachi says, also remember that Gen X had to learn from high context cues. Things were not explicitly explained to us, so we worked to understand them better and therefore them well. Dr. Tachi says also, and let's remember that the youngest Gen Xers were born in 1981. So many are still relatively young. And then Regina says, baby boomers born between 46 and 64 are currently between 60 and 79 years old in 2025.
And you have to remember too, those ones that are born in that 60s-ish, there is a generation that it's a sub-generation. It's called Gen Jones. And that would be Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, that fall into that. I have 2 aunts in the Gen Jones. My mother is whole baby boomer. Her sisters are Gen Jones because they were born. My mother's born in the 50s. They were born in the early 60s. And so there is that issue going on. But Gen Jones is a little bit different because they had some of their stuff crosses with Gen X. And so the oldest Gen Xers are actually Gen Jones. They're part of that in that sub-generation that crosses that. And every generation has that. Like we have Zennials. Although I hate to use that because some of those ones that have crossed over to the millennial age, y'all act like millennials. And if anybody asks me, I'm sorry, I hate to say this if you're a millennial, I don't want to offend you, but I have not liked millennials since the 90s.
Okay, let's move on to our next comments. Soraya says, have you ever seen the Sankofa symbol? The Sankofa bird is a mythical creature and a symbol originating from the Agan people of Ghana, West Africa. It represents the importance of learning from the past to build a better future. The symbol typically depicts a bird flying toward with its head turned backward, often holding an egg in its beak. This imagery signifies the Agan people's belief that one must quote, go back and get it, unquote, Sankofa, acknowledge and learn from the past experiences to move forward. And maybe move forward. So I want to say thank you for taking the time to really go deep on that. Really appreciate that. Of course, you hang out digitally, at least with Lala, so we expect nothing less. And then Soraya says, I'm a boomer. I'm 65. Walamala says, Malcolm X in the middle.
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? Here's the other thing I think that we should really, why Gen X is a good resource for younger generations in terms of, you know who they call when you're Gen X parent, when you're a baby boomer parent, or your silent generation grandparents. My grandparents are 90.
Wow.
When you're boomer parent, who do they call? They don't call millennials. They don't. The millennials, they'll tell you, don't have enough patience with them. I've heard that. They don't call Gen Z because Gen Z knows technology too much, and it'll go over their heads. They call Gen Xers. The same people who have been explaining it to them since we were 10.
All right.
That's what they call. So let us be the translators for both of y'all.
Right.
In the middle. Now that great. Dr. Chachi says my parents were silent generation. They had us late, so they really didn't have time for children's rubbish. Dr. I can't say it like Dr. Rubbish. Regina says the biggest difference. Wow, there's a lot great engagement going on. The biggest difference to me between boomers, those who were being drafted in the Vietnam War and those who came of age later. Great perspective there.
But see, the baby boomers too, when you look at it, they are the only generation that crosses 3 decades.
Yeah.
The 40s, the 50s, and the 60s.
Yeah.
Technically all generations do. We do too. But the majority, when I looked at where the majority of Gen X falls, the majority of Gen X falls between 1970 and 76.
This is good.
The majority of that generation was born in that time period.
Great interaction today. We got one more conversation piece. So we've got deaths in U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement custody. So before we go into that, I've got a poll for everyone on YouTube because there's so many y'all on YouTube today, which is fantastic. And here's the poll question. How concerned are you about reports of deaths in ICE custody? 1, very concerned. This is a serious issue. 2, somewhat concerned, but I need more information. 3, not concerned. It's not a big issue for me. 4, I don't know enough to say so. This is everyone who's watching live on the Dr. Vibe YouTube channel. Ladies, Lala, I want you to lead with this because this was the one you wanted to bring to the table, digital table.
Well, one of the first things that caught my eye is, you guys know I really love the alt forestry and that website and their whole thing of keeping us informed. And we all knew that there was going to be horrible things happening in these detention centers, but they brought it home this weekend. This is only what we know from calls that ended up being 911. So know that these are not probably anywhere close to the numbers where they should be. In the first 10 years of the ICE facilities and this whole thing going on in this whole year, we've had 50 plus potential cardiac episodes, 26 seizures since everybody's been snatching people off the streets, 17 head injuries, 6 sexual abuse reports, including staff on detainees. Let me repeat that. Staff on detainees. You have pregnancy complications at more than half of the facilities, and this is just not enough. And then just last week, there was a Canadian gentleman who lost his life. That was being held and waiting for his procedures to come. So they had to try to resuscitate him, and he did not. We are not even remotely even hearing anything that is happening in these facilities. The minute you know these people are taken off the streets, they are in complete danger. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Women are always the first target. Children are the second topic. Hey, what are happening to these people? Whatever happened to the children that were put in cages? We don't know where a lot of them are. This is the same repeat under a different umbrella, even though it's the same umbrella that's going on. If you think these people are just being detained and then sent to other countries, you got a lot to learn. There is a lot of things going on behind these walls of these facilities that we don't know of, that are completely illegal, that are completely inhumane, such as even trying to get clean water. Disabled detainees, like a double amputee, were being detained and denied their prosthetics, y'all. Like, they can't even move. The Miami facility has multiple deaths because of overcrowding. You have to understand what is happening to our fellow humans. Okay, if you can't get with the language of what people are saying, immigrants, then let me bring this to you on a different level. These are humans. This could happen to you. This is directly tied into the birthrights. What are they going to do? They're going to snatch you off. You have people who are pretending to be ICE, snatching people and raping women, stealing children to do God knows what, under the guise of this racist regime that is happening in our country right now that should be completely torn down from the beginning. I'd rather see America burn to before I continue to see this going on in our detainees. They're putting people in cages, people. How would you feel if this happened to you? There are pastors now coming out trying to guard people as they're going to these immigration appointments that they have legally done and being snatched before they even have their appointments. You now need to stop pretending like immigrants is a key word and start thinking about humanity. This is a human right. A human right, and people are dying on this watch and no one is talking about it. Open your eyes, because it's right around the corner from you. And it's simple as that. You're watching whole communities being snatched for no reason whatsoever, and no one knows where, how, what they're doing. They can't even make phone calls. This is kidnapping. This is actually human trafficking, if you ask me, because you know what's happening to the women and the children.
Okay, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Some people say,
don't do devil's advocate. We got enough of those.
Okay, I'll present a different lens. Some people would say, hey, these people are illegal in our country. They don't need to get for that sort of treatment. What would you say to them?
Our Constitution guarantees it. Our Constitution guarantees it. The law guarantees it. Even people who have committed atrocious murder. Jeffrey Dahmer, all y'all white girls that were fawning all over him and falling in love with her because y'all saw. Let me tell you something. He was given water, a last meal. He was given due process, access to his attorneys. So if we do this with some of the worst criminals in our country, y'all aren't going to do this to the people that y'all picking up at Home Depot when they're trying to work. And here's the other thing for me with this, everything that LaLa said is true. And I need people to just go back. And I know it's trauma. It's hard to go back to that first Trump administration, but I need you to go back and remember when reporters, members of Congress went into those detention centers and showed what happened, what was happening to those kids, and they were there every day. What happened? It looked bad. People were. He learned, and the people that he still has around him that were there, they learned. So what are they doing now? they're arresting members of Congress for doing their job of oversight.
Yeah.
They're telling people we need 72 hours. Why do you need, if nothing untoward is going on in there, why do you need 72 hours notice when the Constitution said we can show up at any daggone time? There's that. They're not letting reporters in at all to film. To the point that that's why they're not letting the people see their attorneys or speak to family members or anything, because they don't want it to get out that what we think is going on, it's a million times worse.
Let me say one more thing, because this should chill you to your soul. ICE has shut down its internal oversight committee.
Yep.
This slashes any inspections or anything that can be possibly being reported right now. Y'all, this ain't nothing but a modern day concentration camp.
Yep. And they're making it worse because if you think the treatment in these federal facilities are bad, wait till they finish building those for-profit ones. Their goal is to
You're ready to open the one in Florida. You do know that, right?
Oh yeah. Their goal is to deport 8 million people by the eve of the next presidential election. 8 million.
So here's a question I have for you. So let's cycle back with what the Supreme Court decided yesterday. How's that going to affect ICE?
It's not, because Pam Bondi did when she sat in front of Congress yesterday, sat and said the most superficial BS ever. Oh, ICE is wearing masks? Oh. Well,
did she say that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
I don't want to hear anymore.
She said, I haven't seen it, but if they are, it's for their protection.
No.
Protection from whom? Here's the thing.
She did say that. No.
Yes, if masked people come to any person, we teach our kids from the time that they're little. If a stranger comes and tries to take you, and they don't say who they are, you don't know them. You go into flight mode. You get away. You attack. Here's the problem that they're going to have. These ICE people aren't showing up in any kind of uniform. They're not declaring who they are. So you know what I'm waiting? I'm waiting for that first white supremacist that when a Asian or a Latino ICE agent comes and knocks on their door, for them to start blasting through the door like they do to little kids who knocked on doors because it was the wrong door. That's what's going to have to happen for the masks and stuff to come off. We don't want that. We don't want it.
I got to still work. Pam Bondi had to, like, she didn't know they wore a mask. You got that.
She was very deliberate with her language. She said she hasn't seen it herself, but she knows it's happening. And somebody said, well, how could she not know? It's been all over the news.
So
then you have places like Florida who is creating alligator Alcatraz.
Oh.
Did you hear what I said? Alligator Alcatraz. They are turning an old airport into a detainee center. You're talking about in the middle of the Everglades. You're going to be surrounded by alligators.
Wow.
This is no joke, y'all. When I'm telling you, I have had an alligator in my neighborhood. In my neighborhood at a pond. This is a serious threat. People are concerned, and a lot of truckers and a lot of people are lining up in Florida right now to protest this because y'all think it's a joke. It's not some funny little cute name. It truly is Alligator Alcatraz. They're also, you got to remember, there's so much heat and so much humidity in Florida that is going to be a concern. So people dying from thirst, this is literally that they are sending people to. And Ron DeSatan has made it his purpose, since he didn't get presidency, that he is going to be the number one punisher for Florida. This is no joke. So what y'all don't understand is, y'all may be laughing at alligators, but when I say Everglades, you're talking about poisonous snakes, you're talking about bugs, you're talking about anything that what was that show, Aisha, where they was hunting alligators down in Florida? and in the bayou and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
no
I know what you're talking about.
This is no joke, y'all. This is where they're sending people to, and it doesn't matter
Yep.
who you are. If they don't like you, all they have to do is your neighbor goes, "Hey,
You know what they're naming? You know what they're building that after, right? You know what they're modeling it after. You know, because guess what Louisiana also has? Alligators. And you know what? Here's the other part. I need for people to understand this. They don't build prisons in the ghetto. They don't build prisons in the city. They build them in suburbs, rural communities, all the places that are so overly terrified of crime. Y'all want that in your backyard?
Yes, they do. Because look at where we're talking about, Aisha. We're
I know.
talking about Florida, who doesn't give a flying, and also Texas.
But you also
These
realize
are
that
the
they're going to be
places
feeling
who
that.
don't
But
care.
they're also going to be feeling. You realize that it's not just the alligators that are in the water. They're going to be bringing some in. And alligators don't just stay in water.
No,
They
they
come up
don't.
on land and they will walk a
Oh, baby.
long way.
The
So
first time
when
that I
y'all
came
start seeing
across
alligators knocking on the door, then
yeah,
that's when they'll have a problem. An
no,
alligator came and knocked on my door.
and that's not a joke. They will.
Oh yeah, I've seen alligators. I've seen videos of alligators ringing doorbells.
All right, let me catch up. The comments are just been flying. Like you two have gone. Thank you both, and I so passionate. And LaLa, you're really passionate about this subject.
Yes, I am. I would be willing. I'm not. People don't understand. I had a friend who was mad. Well, she's not my friend. Okay, I had an acquaintance who was so angry about people marching for immigrants in San Bernardino. She had the god audacity to tell me she was more concerned about her car. I need to be out in that mess. I just got a new car. You worried about a car. I'm worried about human rights. We clearly are not on the same page. I can't rock with you. And you have nothing to say that will make me change my mind. I will stand up for humanity every single time.
But I think that's the problem, LaLa. And I think that's the thing that I learned the most in working for state governments, working people who create policy, people who make policy, working with lawmakers, working for people who lobby for policy, and being a registered lobbyist and working around lobbyists. These aren't people who do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. They're not people who do things because they believe in humanity. Everyone has a motivation. And that's the thing that I learned in working for a government, in that once I found out what the person's motivation was, I could put what I wanted in the words that they needed. And this is where Democrats are stumbling right now. They're not finding what the motivations are, because guess what? A lot of them that are elected don't know what their motivations are, what would turn them. And I think that one of the things that we need are for people to take this, and you have to turn this into things that motivate people to, immigration for a lot of these people, and the fact that, oh, these are mothers and sons, they don't care about that. All they see are these brown people that Fox tells them is taking their jobs, even though they're not even applying for jobs. They're just happy to sit at home holding their guns. Okay, so what is it that motivates them? What's the fear that motivates them? You know what the fear needs to be? They're gonna put a prison in your backyard. They're going to put a prison in your backyard. All the criminals, they're taking all the criminals out the city and putting them in your town, in your yard, because they're okay with prison, with people going to prison, and they're okay with crime as long as it happens outside of their neighborhoods. But when you take the crime and the criminal element and you put it next door to them in the places where their kids ride bikes, then it starts to make them uncomfortable. So we have to find out what those motivations are.
All right, ladies, your passionate commentary over that have just blew the comment section up. Let me catch up here. So Aisha says they are not giving people medication. Regina says ice is satanic. The Walla Mala says, is ice like freezing people to death? The Walla Mala says, seems like it's not about deportations, about death sentence. The Walla Mala says, heard the jails are cold just like ice. Soraya, this is another good long one for her, so be patient, people. She says, my siblings and I are immigrants. We were having a conversation regarding the anxiety, stress, sadness that we've been feeling. Seeing these humans clinging to trees, being beaten, treated like animals is inhumane. Being here without legality is not a crime that warrants inhumane treatment nor kidnapping. This is not the America that we came for. Better opportunities. It's a serious.
You know what, though? I have to say this. The thing that I think we keep forgetting is, are we not forgetting these are the things that some people's ancestors did to our ancestors? The same exact things. Why are we surprised that we can't say this is not who we are? Exactly who we are. We did this already.
Dr. Tachi says, yes, in the middle of the alligators. The Walla Mala says, perhaps Pam didn't watch the news. Dr. Tachi also says, also snakes and mosquitoes. The Walla Mala says, throw Ron DeSantis in the Everglades with the rest of the snakes. Dr. Tachi, the Everglades equals the Australian bush.
Yes.
Soraya, again, another great one here from Soraya. Approximately 90% of the individuals in ICE, immigration custody, are held, in facilities owned or operated by private prison corporations. Companies such as Core Civic and CO Group manage a large number of detention centers under contract within the government.
And they don't do good background checks at all. They don't do good background checks at all. Actually, a lot of the people that they hire have had some kind of criminal record themselves.
Okay. And then she says, many are not ICE agents. They are bounty hunters getting about $1,000.
They're covering their
faces. Exactly.
They are hiring bounty hunters. That is the motivation. And when you have people who are motivated by their survival and their livelihood.
Yeah. And then Enlightened Being says, OMG, I just looked up the Florida plan. What's the Florida plan?
It's Florida's Project 2025.
Oh, okay. I was not aware.
See, Ron DeSantis, the problem for him right now is that he spent about half of his second term running for president. So now he didn't win. So now he's just, I'll just do to the state of Florida what I couldn't do to the country because I'm mad.
Yeah. And it gets mad that people are even talking about, like his wife has got some bogus nonprofit thing. So he actually came out and said, y'all stop talking about my wife's nonprofit. It's illegal. It's for white people only. You what?
Oh, and also remember, that is the state that was suing the Black women.
Yes.
Who were having the fun. I'm sorry, they're in Atlanta, but they were giving people funding in Florida for Black women. And that's what tripped this whole thing.
Okay. I think that is it for today. Ladies, you were epic today. Epic conversation today. Now, before we leave, a few quick things. First things first, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, we want to get what you thought about today's conversation. So from 1 to 5, 1 saying and 5 saying the ladies hit it out of the park. So if you can vote on the YouTube channel, that would be much appreciated. Now, let's do this. We want to say thank you to the ladies' time as per usual. And first, let's go to Lala. How can people get into Lala's world?
Well, I have a website that I've put a lot of things on there for my real estate business. And also if you're thinking about moving abroad, I have an excellent quiz there for you. And it's going to help you to decide where you are in that process. And no matter where you are on that plan, it's going to give you a good idea of what you need to start thinking about if you're thinking about traveling or moving abroad. I also have a new series on my YouTube channel called Living the LaLa Life. The series is Finding Your Soul's Voice, and it is tapping into your life purpose. Many of us put our life purpose on hold for whatever reason, someone telling you you can't. Maybe you had children early like myself and then think you couldn't go live your dreams. But I have tapped into some things that are helping me to get back to my life purpose. And if you would like to join me on that journey to also tap into yours, then I need you to come to my YouTube channel, which is Living the LaLa Life, and join in on the fun. The introduction was last week. We start week 1 on Monday.
By the way, can people get to your YouTube channel from your laurakey.net site?
I will definitely put that up this weekend, but I also sent you, Dr. Vibe, the link to that.
Okay, and I think we should have it.
I don't think it's in tonight's. I think I sent it last week.
Okay, we'll update that next week. My apologies. All right. Thank you so much. Aisha K., how do we touch base with you?
Oh, wow. You can find me on Instagram at AK Staggers, Medium at AishaKStaggers.medium.com, Blue Sky at akstaggers.bsky.social, Friendo Media at friendomedia.com, where I'm editor at large. I have a new piece up there that was published Thursday, and Substack at Aisha K. Staggers.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. That is great and fantastic. And myself, how can you get a hold of me? There is a number of ways. The drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at the DRVIBESHOW, X/Twitter at DRVIBESHOW, email dr.vibe at the drvibeshow. On Substack, yes, we finally had a live show on Substack. Yes, 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 as Tiara would say. She goes, yes, yes, yes. Tiara likes to go. and Lala knows that I did a Tiara imitation. If she's still watching, I hope I did it well. All right. So you can also catch me on Substack. And there we go. drvibe.substack.com/subscribe. And also on Blue Sky, drvibe.bsky.social, and TikTok at the dr.VIBESHOW. And you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website. I want to shout out everybody here. Also, people who chimed in from Lala's page, DRG Landry, Soraya, and Bobby Turner. Thank you so much for jumping in. Got a few more quick comments here. All right. Soraya put in a lovely quote. Quote, if they take you in the morning, they'll be coming for us at night. James Baldwin. And the Walla Mala said that this conversation today was a home run. Thank you. Aisha said, love that quote, Soraya. And Lala has put her YouTube link in there. So there, we've got it. We've covered it all. And yeah, everyone. Okay, I'm going to put up the poll because I think Soraya voted wrong. I believe so. But I'm going to put up the poll anyways, because I know with her involvement. So I think, Soraya, you thought a 1 would be fantastic. 5 is the fantastic. So you've been, I know that it was just an error. You came in late, no problem. So I'm considering that it was 100%. We're gonna leave it like that. All right. Thank you, everyone who watched live on the replay. This is epic. So this is how we're going to finish it off. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller, get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. If you're not making money, make history. But try to do both and make it better. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith while good. And thanks, producer Matt. See you next time.
To understand how afraid I am of any member of the rodent family, that's down to squirrels and chipmunks. Okay, I cannot stand all members of the rodent family. Rabbits, bunnies, no. What else is going on that day? I mean, is there something we're supposed to be doing?
Why are you going there? Why are you going there? You know I'm going to ask you. It falls the same day as the inauguration of the new president.
The what? Excuse me? I'm sorry?
So in other words, Monday.
So onesies. Now, folks, don't ever think you're going to see us all on a show with onesies on. Don't do
You
that.
might see me. You might see me.
You'll see me and Lala because we oftentimes wear ours.